do you make them reach their best performance without injuring them? That's it. That's the equation we're trying to solve.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us and welcome to the Founders in LA podcast. I'm your host Ethan Cole, and this is an opportunity to shine the spotlight through a product lens on some of the exceptional founders we have as part of the LA community in an unedited, one-take organic conversation. With us in the studio today is Luca Buratto and Ahmed Issaoui. Thanks for coming to the studio, guys. Hope I didn't butcher names too bad.
No, you didn't.
It's okay. Not bad.
How say your last name?
Buratto.
Buratto.
Yeah, many people associate that with burrata, but it's Buratto.
Buratto. Thanks for coming, guys. Really excited to chat with you about Lubu, but first, word from our sponsors. Founders in LA is brought to you by Nearshore. Nearshore is a trailblazer in nearshore outsourcing and staff augmentation. With over 15 years of experience offering exceptional Latin American software development, data, product, and design talent for U.S. projects, Nearshore has revolutionized the way companies scale their teams. They stand apart with 50% female leadership, are trusted by companies large and small, and have been helping U.S. customers grow since before nearshoring was cool. Discover how Nearshore can power your tech goals and help you stay lean while scaling fast. Learn more at www.nearshore.com. That's www.neasure.com. We're also brought to you by Unida. Unida Club is a co-working space that sets itself apart. With locations in El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, and Hermosa, Unida is where creativity flourishes. Unlike traditional offices, they provide an inspiring environment where ideas can thrive and businesses can grow. With Unida, there's no hidden fees, flexible terms, options for dedicated offices, and unlimited access to conference rooms, a photo studio, this podcast studio, plus standard 3D printers, and 24/7 access at any of their locations. They're local champions who support neighborhood businesses, open their event spaces to nonprofits, and celebrate art, music, and culture. Join Unida Club and experience co-working like never before. Learn more at www.unida.club. That's www.unita.club. Our guests today are Luca Buratto and Ahmed Issaoui. They are co-founders of Lubu. And can you guys just give us a 30-second description of Lubu?
Sure. Actually, let me start from where it all starts from. Nowadays, we understood that 75% of all fitness enthusiasts, at least, wear at least one wearable device. Whether it is like an Apple Watch, a Garmin, or a Ring, Whoop, we're surrounded by them.
Right.
And they're very good in understanding your sleep and your heartbeat. But where does human movement start from? From your feet. Your feet is the only part of your body in contact with the ground. And already Leonardo da Vinci 600 years ago was obsessed with the foot mechanics. And that's because the foot influences the well-being of your whole body. So what Lubu does is basically creating a new layer of sports intelligence to understand the movement that matter the most and how they reflect on your well-being. So we're developing, in this case, smart orthotics, which are infused with sensors, understand how you move and the force of your body at every single step, and translate them into simple to understand insights and risk level to take decision and decide, for example, should I play or am I at risk of injury?
Wow. So, and anyone who's been doing anything athletic for the last decade or so, familiar with, Fitbit and other wearables. I remember that craze a couple of years ago when everyone was starting to count their steps, and all of a sudden people are talking about how many steps they were doing. Ironically, people were counting steps by a thing on their arm, and what you're saying on their wrist, and what you're saying is, we love where people's heads are at, but really let's go to the source of the problem, and beyond just counting the number of steps that people are taking, we're able to also maybe quantify and calibrate how they are stepping and trying to obtain insights from those steps themselves.
This is correct, because if you try to think about it, our body is like a chain. So sometimes, or very often, some people, your back pain or your neck pain or your knee or hips pain is actually all correlated to your foot. That's why it's called the second heart of your body.
The second heart. And can I take a look at one of them?
Sure. So these are like our latest prototypes. Some of the uniqueness about our product is that, and this connect to why did we start this company, is because first of all, both of us has been athletes for a long time of our career. I've been playing rugby for a long time, and unfortunately was subjected with many other colleagues of mine to injuries, especially non-contact injuries, which are the vast majority of them, roughly like 70% of them, which means ankle sprains, stress fracture. And the difference between me and him in this case is that I had access to a human performance lab because my family back in Italy ran this company for more than 7 decades who focus on human performance, gait analysis, biomechanics, medical devices. So having access to that lab was game-changing for me to understand my impairments, my asymmetries, but moreover for my coach to understand, am I overtraining you? What is your body signal telling to me? So what we're trying to do is taking that big labs, squeezing it to a portable device, and making this insight accessible to everybody finally.
Oh, wow. So, and to describe the product for anyone who's listening on the audio, it's a foam device that would go into the insole of your shoe. It's like like your standard orthopedic, but there's a little bit of there's some tech on the bottom. You can feel it. But that makes so much sense, Luca. So what you're saying is, the access to these performance labs that are right now in the hands of, a few folks and some, lucky professional sports teams where they're identifying, hey, how are the actions that you are doing? How is your form? How is that impacting what you're doing on the court, and how is that impacting your body and injury? And I imagine recovery is quite a big part of that. You guys are saying, yeah, well, I mean, you don't need that full lab to get 100% of all the accuracy. We could just start looking at your steps and the way your feet are positioned, the way that you're impacting the ground.
The force that every single steps translate from the ground to your neck, not passing from the whole of your body, as we were saying before. So Ahmed for sure can elaborate way much more in deep if you want regarding this question, but there are some super small nuance that you don't notice, even just standing, that can uncover a lot about your health and well-being.
Yeah,
go for it, Ahmed.
No, absolutely. So this versus going to a human performance lab, the classic one with a force plate. Well, this will save you money, will save you time because you don't need to go there. It's more practical. But even more importantly, this measures data in a more pragmatic environment, meaning that there are things that you cannot measure in a lab. You can try to simulate a jump on a force plate in a lab, but what if I just ask you to wear this and go play your basketball game? You're not simulating anything. I'm just measuring it right from the field. So not only how we measure it, but what do we measure? We can have access to things that are measured in certain environments that are way more real or close to reality, more pragmatically what you're trying to measure.
Wow, and I love that because, again, yes, to your point, you're taking it out of the lab, and the lab itself is where you do experiments. It is not real world. You try to simulate, whereas you guys are literally I don't want to, no pun intended, but literally taking it to the field. You're literally taking it to the football field. You're literally taking it to the baseball field. You're having people do their everyday movements.
Exactly.
And you're able to identify, are there things that you're doing that are hurting you? Could you be doing things better that'll prevent injury? And I guess, in terms of recovery, are you the same as where you were before you left on the designated DL?
Correct. And also, how can you improve your movements? And this translates not only to a lower risk of injury, but also maybe in a better performance. And there's another differentiation between Fitbit, Apple Watch, Whoop, whatever, is that the insole is giving to you not only additional comfort, but also is offloading some of the forces that are impacting your foot and your body. So it's actually giving you a physical benefit. It's something that everybody should wear.
How did you guys get into this world? It sounds like, Luca, you did have a bit of a background. How did that translate into working with Ahmed? And I think you guys also were, we tend to love you guys. I think you were also a Techstars alum.
Yes, more on Techstars afterwards. So how we met each other is very funny because I've been coming US like very often the past decade to invest in startups, meet friends who are living here. Me myself, I've been studying here when I was 16. But basically, the Trump administration like enforced a ban of people coming from Europe during COVID. So for 2 years, I was prevented to come here. In November 2021, I finally been able to come back to Los Angeles. And I was at Venice Running Club, which is probably like many of you like knows a big running community here in Los Angeles. And I met this gentleman here. And we immediately clicked because of like common experience, passions. As I mentioned before, he was also an athlete. And we kept in touch across the month. Till at a certain moment when I realized that there was this gap in the offer in the market, I reached out to Ahmed and say, hey Ahmed, like, I think we're in the perfect situation to bring our expertise together, mine of like the 7 decades of my family, but also I've been a founder before. I was in charge of innovation for medical devices in my family business, but I was lacking all the knowledge regarding data science and how to translate raw information, which are meaningless, to something that has like a real impact on people's lives. So this is like where Ahmed like took part. Let's say not took part, but like that was a moment in which like we formed our company. So our company was formed almost a year ago. It was actually, I think that's funny. It was like formed during the Valentine last February.
Nice.
So it's almost a year that we're building our company. And during the last quarter of 2023, we've been part of Techstars Physical Health in Texas, which was a fantastic experience on a human perspective level, but even more on the business side. They help us laser focus on the proper target of customers, putting us in touch with a lot of experts, with first clients. So it was great experience.
That's fantastic. And then Ahmed, how about your side of the
So
creation?
I did not used to have like the entrepreneurial spirit, or I cannot claim that I've been always like the guy who wanted to create his own company and like change the world initially. Like I've had very classic, like I don't know, was good at school, went to the best school, then I got a scholarship. Then exactly I got a scholarship, went to France, went to the best school, then I got a scholarship, went to Berkeley, then I had like a job at a tech company. I was well paid. I was like in my comfort zone, let's say. But there was something missing for me, because I thought that I was not doing what I should be doing, which is solving at least a part of like all the mess that is happening around us in this world. And I felt I was responsible, and I really felt bad. Like there was like a feeling of guilt almost, right? Like, why am I not doing this? Like, okay, I'm well paid, I'm having a good job, everything is great, I have a good life, I'm living in LA, in Venice Beach, surfing every morning for going to work, but I'm not really doing something that I think is fulfilling. And that's when I started asking myself, so what is the thing that I want to do, right? And I had like these 3 pillars of things that I thought I want to fight for, 3 causes, which are access to education, having a shelter, and having access to healthcare. So basically, like I was trying to, okay, how can I do like this career jump, right, from like my corporate like job to something where I can actually have this kind of impact? And entrepreneurship was the answer to that. And then when I met with Luca, and I started to know him as a person, so that was like first good pillar that is extremely important to say, yes, I'm gonna go. But also the solution, the problem he focused on, and the solution he suggested to me, I was like, of course I'm gonna be working on this. Like I was like, yeah, yes, like it was obvious. Like I didn't really think twice about it, and just we started.
It's fun. It's one of the things that has been more important, I think, over the last few years as a trend is like this idea of product founder fit. It sounds like, I'd love to hear you guys speak to it from Lubu. It does sound like you guys have that. It sounds like Luca with deep background in devices and understanding how health can be improved using devices through your family you've been working on?
Definitely yes, and that together with our expertise. So we're solving a problem that we faced ourselves.
Yeah.
That's also something very important. And a big shout out to Ahmed. One of the first things that I love the most about him is really like he as a human person, his values, like the three pillars that he was mentioning before. Actually, I think you replace food with shelter.
Yeah.
So coming from a country in Africa where like some of these things, if not all of them, are missing, I felt like very inspired after talking to him. I'm very proud to having like him as my co-founder.
And can you talk a little bit more about the tech? I know you can't get too deep into it, but can you talk about, so I think you made a great point, Luca. Like, hey, you can collect all this data, but if you don't do anything with it, it's meaningless. Can you talk a little bit more about like how you're taking the information that's coming from the wearables, and you're creating, I guess, actionable insights for the folks who are using it?
It's a very good question, and could be like very deep answer, but I say to make it more simple is, first of all, we're lucky to be surrounded by a network of experts which has been helping us in crafting this product, understanding which kind of sensor, which type of sensor, which resolution, where is to be positioned, why. And again, having access to a personal human performance lab enabled us to move at faster pace to resolve this problem. That was a first problem to understand. Where to collect data from and what. Second, how to translate them is again a mix of how much data you collect from who, but especially like your special source on which parameter you're selecting, how much weight are you giving to this parameter.
Right.
And all this work is done and carried out by Ahmed and our team. So if you want to...
No, yeah, absolutely. You said it all. Basically, that device that you have in your hands like measures some raw data that no one cares about. Like if you're a runner and I tell you your angular velocity on the y-axis is 2 radians per second at that moment, like you're like, okay, thanks. Like what am I gonna do with that, right? But if I tell you that your distance is that, your cadence, your pace, or your number of steps, or, and then like this is how your like pressure looks when you move, and this is the load that you put in your body, and this is how far you are to be able to go back to play after an injury, etc., etc. These are insights that you would care about. So what he calls the secret sauce is basically the bridge, right? Like how do you take that to make something that is useful or interpretable or understandable by a user?
So it's a combination of data collection, hardware technologies, but especially the mind and the brain behind the algorithms. How to translate the dozens of raw values that we collect, these are different values, but we collect actually like millions of data points every single minute, and how to tweak them to make them like an actionable insights. That's like behind like the single person expertise and a lot of field validation as well, and being surrounded by the proper persons. And in this process, I've been very lucky. We've been very lucky between having like people from all around the globe supporting us, and also, as I mentioned before, Techstars also was a great value on.
Yeah, and how are you getting this in terms of like the stage of the company? Like, how did you find your first customers or alpha customers, or what stage would you say you're at right now?
Another good question. So, and another time I should bring to the table Techstars, because we reached Techstars with a very strong conviction, which was we're going to build the Apple Watch of your foot. And this is a product then who's targeting Apple Watch users, or in general like a fitness enthusiast user, which are 60 million in the US. So very big market, which we validated with like hundreds of customer interviews. In reality, they helped us understand that there is another market which is extremely sensitive to the problem, and even more than the single consumer, which is maybe like just passionate about the data, because nowadays we're very data driven. And this target are elite sports team. And there is where we start focusing on. So in December, we opened our design partnership program, which basically is a program for which our customers are aware of the fact that our product is not ready yet for market, but see the immense value that means for their team. So we start working with a few top Division 1 college sports team, but unfortunately I cannot mention because of NDA agreements. But we came across them originally like through Techstars network, and now by word of mouth, this is like expanding gigantically.
I imagine it's one of those places where every team is fighting for competitive edge. So if someone catches wind that, hey, these guys are using orthopedics that are the Apple Watch for your foot, and they're telling them, there's
competitive edge to understand like how to maximize player availability. So at the end of the day, if you want to resume everything, at least in this moment of our like company stage and our focus into the market is maximize player availability. So how to be sure that the player is able to play at the maximum of his capacity. So don't overtrain the guy, but nor having like
them.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. It's basically like how do you find how do you make them reach their best performance without injuring them? That's it. That's the equation we're trying to solve, right? How do they get better without them being overworked, overloaded, right? It's a very hard equation to solve, right? And that's why we help.
And it's very valuable.
Oh, and that would be the dream for most coaches and sports programs. Like, hey, how hard can we push them to maximize them? But to your point, the availability, like let's not overwork them so that we lose them before playoffs.
Yeah.
Correct.
Wow. So what's next with Lubu?
What's next? Like I think like in this coming 6 months are gonna be like probably the hardest for us because we're taking a product which is almost ready for market, but we have to refine a lot of small details and being ready for launch by the end of this summer. So in Lubu, we prioritize a lot speed of execution because we know the market told us that the fastest is the slowest. So it's important to be very fast in what you're doing and delivering, of course, a great product, but it's important to be able to pivot or execute at a fast pace. So in front of that, we have like a product launch, and we're actually like also closing our pre-seed round, which is almost completely filled in. We are hiring new people in our team, and we're getting ready for production. So a lot of things coming across in this next coming like 6 months until the end of the year. If you want to have a snapshot of what could be like in front of us on a longer term, so now we're fully focused on elite sports team, but we anticipate in 2 years to become, as I said before, the Apple Watch for your food. So it means expanding to the consumers. But in reality, where we see ourselves positioned in 5 to 6 years is definitely in healthcare. Healthcare is where I'm coming from, is what drives myself, because I know that with this product, we can uncover so many information about yourself, not only regarding sports, not only about regarding your posture, but also regarding if a person is developing neurological condition, Alzheimer, Parkinson, and living in an age in which we have a global population, especially in the Western countries of the globe, aging so fast, it's important to have like a healthy aging. So being able to detect problem before it happens, so you can treat them or you can take action to prevent them. And this is like a next step to prevent a lot of problems that people can have. And this goes like from full detection to neurological condition. And we're positioned in a very lucky spot because, again, having access to all the network that we have globally thanks to my family and now through Techstars, and now being in California is incredible. So we're super looking forward for the future.
Oh, man, me too. So we'll have to have you back in a show in maybe 6 months post-launch. We'll give you some time to catch your breath after launch, so maybe a bit later in the year. But no, super, super excited for you guys, excited for the product. I know enough people with bad backs and knees that, having a sense of, what they can do or if their the way they walk is impacting their response to the recovery time. I think it's valuable. So, and grounding this in LA, you mentioned California. On the show, we love to bring up people's most LA moments. Do you guys could be separate, could be together? Your most LA moment?
It'd be very classic, like meeting stars, right? Like, or not meeting them, but like bumping into them, like I was like Emma Watson or Ellen DeGeneres or like people like that. And then I'd say also like, I don't know, surfing during sunset and like sitting on your board in the middle of the ocean. I'm like, how did I arrive to this point in my life where I'm here? Which is like, you know, like the hashtag blessed, hashtag grateful, like that kind of feeling. So yeah, I think these are the two things that's what most LA moment for me.
And having like had a full day of work and like
Yeah,
a real company, real job. And
exactly, yeah, which
relax
is
with it.
unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I surf twice a day, like before and after, and I work during the day. Like, where can you do that in this world, right?
Love that one. And then, Luca, do you have one?
First of all, I love Los Angeles because it's a melting pot of different culture, different people. Everybody can be themselves, like also in an extreme way, but so you can came across or like stay together with people which are very inspiring, but at the same time you are surrounded by nature. Like you have the mountains that are close to you, the sea that is close to you. But you have to, if I have to think about like one LA moment, probably since also we're in the topic here and he lives in Venice. A few months ago, actually like at the start of Lubu, we were in Venice testing our first prototypes with people, with skateboarders, surfers, runners, crossfitters. And I say, oh my God, like that's a perfect place. I'm in this melting pot of people, like so different, but so passionate about technology and fitness that like I cannot be like in a best position in the globe like to create what I'm doing. So I felt very fulfilled.
I can't agree more. I'm so happy you guys are part of this LA community, this LA community of growers and builders. So thank you again for joining us. So it's Luca Buratto and Ahmed Issaoui. I'd like to thank our sponsors again, Nearshore and Unida. I'd like to thank you all for listening to us. And if you like what you hear, please smash that subscribe button. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch you next time on Founders in LA.